So the first play we're going to look at is the play PA boot left. First off, I just also want to say about this formation, you can actually run it from either hash. You can have the ISO wide receiver on the short. We're on the right hash, so it's almost like you'd be running trips on the short side. You could also flip it. I have setups for both. There is a reason that I like to have it on the short side, so we'll go through that. Um, but let me show you one of the things that I like and that I've been doing for this formation. So I talked in the intro about Mercedes Lewis. So what you want to do, um, if you beforehand or in game, up to you, you want to have Mercedes Lewis flip with Kittle. So you really want to have it like this. So you have Kittle or whoever, but you want to have Mercedes Lewis as the second tight end, and I'll explain why. So if you see, he's number 89. He's on the left side of the formation here, which is exactly what we want. And then if we flip it, we also want him. Now we want him on the right side. We want him to be the isolated tight end. So if the first way that I showed, he's on the left side. If you flip over to the tight end flip package, he'll go to the right side. So again, I'll explain throughout the course of these videos, but basically, we want Mercedes Lewis, for the most part, to be the isolated tight end. Alrighty? So let's leave him where he was, and we'll go back to PA boot left. So you can see here we have him, Big Dog, on the left side. That's where we want him. So with PA boot left, this is what you're looking at stock. And the reason that I love this play, you have three good routes here. So the best route, I mean, I don't know if it's the best, but this route by Steve Smith, this post does really well against zone and man. Even without abilities, I've been able to complete it. Now, again, you may be thinking, why don't I have short out? He's outside the numbers. There are times where, he'll break and short in will activate. We'll motion him sometimes to get him inside the numbers. Sometimes we flip it. So again, it's up to you. I've tried both, but I prefer short in. So we have the post route, which is a very nice post. We'll look at that. Kittle on this shallow crosser, Fries man with short in. And then we do have this longer corner, which we'll look at a little bit later, to the other tight end. So this does really well working together. You have a corner and a post like this. This is always a tough concept for people to defend. So let's look at this against all zones first in the first setup. So we're here. We'll just look at cover three. This is baseline. We'll press. So the first setup that I like with this is I'm going to put R1 on a flat. Now with X, I can either leave him or I'm going to put him on a drag. And then I'm going to block square. And then with the running back, you have options here. Sometimes I'll put him on an angle. This is really one of the setups that I like, or I'm going to motion him out. So let me just also explain what I'm doing with Mercedes Lewis. I have secure protector on him because a lot of the times with this formation, people are trying to blitz off of this side. They're sending a lot of pressure, or they're setting up like Mike blitz, and a lot of the times, my left offensive tackle dumbs out. So having a regular tight end here, we know that tight ends don't block this year. So if we go to block a regular tight end, most of the time he's going to get ragdolled. But having secure protector on him, we're able to essentially block him most of the time. And that's how I'm using Big Dog, Mercedes Lewis, and this secure protector. I'm basically using him as a extra lineman to block. But with the way this formation is, I can still have four receivers if I need it. And you'll see that when we flip it, we can have them all to one side. So again, we have four receivers. Three of them are on the trip side over here, which also allows us, by the way, to have some bunch look setups because these guys are kind of bunched up and off the line, and this guy's, spread out. We can do a lot of things with that. But basically, this is the first setup that I like. So essentially, what I'm looking for a lot of the times with this formation when I'm running it is I want to hit the flats a lot. So my first read against anytime I'm running any of these plays, especially this one, I'm looking for R1 first on a high point to the sideline. So I'm going to read R1, then I'm going to look for Kittle, and then I'm going to look for the angle and the post afterwards. So you'll see that the drag and the Texas route work well together. It really depends on what their user does. So we'll run the play. Of course, I throw a pick on the first fucking play. Unbelievable. So let's run this play. So the first play we want to look at is PA boot left. I just want to touch on Mercedes Lewis. Essentially, what we want with him, because he has secure protector, we're going to use him like an extra blocker. We know that tight ends don't block great. And with this formation, a lot of the times people try to blitz off of that side. It's very hard for someone, to blitz off of this side because you're going to have the receiver, two tight ends, and essentially we could even have the running back going on a route to that side. So you can still have four receivers and create a flood. So a lot of the times, based on my experience having used this the last couple of weeks, people are trying to blitz off this side with Mike Blitz. The offensive tackle sometimes will dumb out. So I'm just using Mercedes Lewis as an extra blocker, but I can also check down to him. So let's start off with cover three. PA boot left, our first play. Like this play a lot because we have Kittle on this shallow cross, which does a great job against man coverage. We have Steve Smith on this post, which also will do very well against man and zone. He's outside the numbers. You may be thinking short out, but a lot of the time short in activates, and we're going to motion him and flip this back and forth. So I like having short in. And then we have Mercedes Lewis square on this deeper corner. Not something I'm going to use with him, but that corner, when smart routed, is deadly with the other tight ends. So first setup here that I like is I'm going to put R1 on a flat. I'm going to drag Kittle. Now you can leave him if you want. I'm going to block square, and then I'm going to put the running back on a Texas or an angle route. So this is what we're looking at. This is my first setup. Very good against zone. I'm looking flat first, then drag, then I'm going to read the other two. So we really want to just see if the flat's open, we're going to hit that quick. If not, we're going to look to the middle of the field. So that was a riskier throw. We'll run that again. But you can see in the middle of the field, we're basically creating conflict. We'll see if we can hit the flat here. So that's always going to be my first read. Those high point flats, if I see the defender backing up like he did there, and they're not in a hard flat, or they're not in some sort of zone drop, I'm going to take that flat all day long. You can high point it, high point rack it, especially with the way the game is. You can break that tackle. And I mean, I've gotten crazy gains just off of a simple pass. So again, we'll look at this. This time we'll try to hit the post. We did complete it. Obviously, we got a knockout there, but I just want you to see that, you are able to make that read. So really nice play here against zone, against cover three. Now let's look at it against cover four. We'll do the same setup. We're going to read flat first. Flat's not open, so we take the angle. And if they're going to use the Texas route, we'll look for the drag. The post didn't get open there, but that's okay. Let's look at Tampa 2. A little bit of a riskier throw there. I'm not worried about the cloud as much, but you can see that, um, that vert hook was right there. So, I mean, you don't see people playing a lot of stock cover 2, something like this, but, maybe they're going to man this guy up. But I just want you guys to see that if somebody is playing stock coverage like this, you can still hit the flat. And we still have room for the post because the vert hook is being occupied by the flat. This does really well against all of those zones. And it is not hash mark dependent. So let's start again with cover three now. Here's one of the benefits and the beautiful things about this formation. When you are running this to the wide side, now you can essentially flood this area, where Taysom Hill is. We can really attack this area of the field with almost four receivers. So, we can still block we can still block six here. But now we have the running back that we can send on a wheel. He'll go to that side. We can put him on a table. You know, out routes aren't what they were like last year, but that's one of the benefits of this formation is now we can essentially have this guy blocking off the edge with secure protector and still have four receivers if we need them. So again, we'll look at a very similar setup that we were doing. Now I wouldn't do an angle route here because, he's going to go the same way as Kittle. So on the wide side like this, I get a little more creative sometimes. This is one of the things I like to do on the wide side. So I'm going to put Byers on a table, and I'm going to put Taysom Hill on a trail. So the drag and the trail work really well together. You'll have the post, and then Byers will be a check down. A lot of the times, because it's a later read and because he's coming out of the backfield, he'll get into this nice little tender area that I was just talking about over here. So again, this is against cover 3. You can see the defenders are backing up. Again, this is what I'm doing to the wide side of the field. And there's a lot of different setups. I mean, you can do a lot of freestyling. You could do something like this if you really wanted to. You can have the post being cleared out by the streak. A little riskier of a throw there, but just one of the other things that you can do. But again, this is really one of the setups that I like. Let's try to hit the trail here. And, we're able to attack that area. Against cover 4, drag is open. Trail is also open. Again, user is in the middle of the field there. I mean, especially against cover 4, if somebody's playing match, really hard to play match against this formation because you really do have 4 receivers that we can attack with. But you can see that the quarter flat here, not able to play the trail. So that's why the drag and the table route work really well opening up the trail. So let's just man him up. Let's pretend their user takes the drag. That trail in the middle of the field. We already know how good trails are because of Jumbo. So shout out to Lights for that. Against cover 2. So against cover 2, hitting that table route, not going to be easy at all. But you'll see the middle of the field again opening up. Again, the trail. We'll do that one more time with cover 2. I'm just going to man him up on the drag. And then we'll look to hit the post as a later read. And you can see also Mercedes Lewis doing a very good job protecting, not getting ragdolled. It's something that I've been using, like I said, just for the past couple days, and it's been amazing. I actually started off with an O lineman over there, and then I realized that you were able to get secure protector. So, they're going to get a double team, obviously, but I feel much more comfortable having 6 blockers and not sending 5 out all the time. I mean, we could essentially send 3 out. We'll look at those setups if we do like a max protect, but being able to attack with those 4 receivers is really good. So these are the setups. The first setup that I like against zone, again, short side, wide side, hash marks. It's not really hash mark dependent. You can see that we can attack different ways.